So for today's deck profile video, we're going to take a look at Dark Muk, again in the Rocket On format. I really love this format. I love the art, I love the decks, and there's a lot of fun decks in it. It does get a bit of, I suppose, of a bad name, this format, because you have Feraligatr and it's fairly overpowered, and then people also don't like it because you've got Cleffa with coin flips, and then you have your focus bands on coin flips, and there's a lot of kind of luck, I guess, as well. But I actually kind of really like that. I think it adds a bit of fun to the format, and yeah, between that and just how cool I think the cards look, and there is actually a lot of fun decks in this format. You can actually create your own little format out of this format, and have decks that are pretty much similar to each other in terms of strength, so you can really make the most out of it. But for today we're going to be looking at Dark Muk. Now, Dark Muk is a really interesting deck. It's basically the first type of deck that just wants to run your opponent off the board as quick as possible. So the longer the game goes on for, the worse usually it is for Dark Muk. So we're not trying for long games here with Dark Muk. We kind of want to overwhelm our opponent and run them off the board or make them scoop with Dark Muk. I was actually watching, I believe it was Jay Hornog's 04 video on Mucky X, which I subsequently built. Jay has brilliant videos on 2004, and I think at the time he said, you know, that Mucky X was the first kind of Muk deck that, like, you know, wants to run you off the board real quick and be aggressive. But I was just remember, you know, watching that thinking, actually there's Dark Muk that, you know, from Rocket On. So just shout out to Dark Muk here, giving him his due. So let's jump into the deck profile here. This deck actually has a lot of trainers. It's very trainer heavy, you'll see now in a second, and pretty low on the Pokemon front. So we play 4 copies of this Grimer, 50 hit points, nasty glue, colourless attack, flip a coin of heads, defend Pokemon paralyzed, 10 damage, pretty good. Kind of stall card as well, bit of 10 damage is decent as well. Then minimize all damage done by attacks for 1 grass to Grimer during your opponent's next turn is reduced by 20. You're never really going to use minimize. It's just nasty glue, stall the turn, and get into your Muks as quick as possible. It's all about getting Dark Muk out as quick as possible. That's our 4 copies of Grimer. Dark Muk, so the star of the show here, he has got the, or she has got the Pokemon Power Sticky Goo. As long as Dark Muk is your active Pokemon, your opponent pays 2 colourless more to retreat his or her active Pokemon. This power stops working while Dark Muk is asleep, confused, paralyzed. And that ties into its attack Sludge Punch for 2 grass. There's 20, okay, not amazing, but then the defending Pokemon is now poisoned. So you want to do your 20 damage, trap them in the active, and then let the poison chip away at them between turns. And really put that kind of pressure on your opponent as fast as possible while they're still building up their board. You know, this is great for dealing with, you know, Cleffas and things like that, because if you can get through the first coin flip on a Cleffa, then the poison knocks it out. And even if it's just basic Pokemon like Totodiles, Growlithe, Cyndaquils, depending on what you're up against really, Ghastlies from Sabrina's Haunter, any of those little kind of basic Pokemon, this just eats those up. So you really want to get this guy out as fast as possible. Like, the slower you get Dark Muk out, the harder it is for the deck to do what it's supposed to do. So that's our 4 copies. We also do run 1 copy of the Fossil Muk with the Pokemon Power Toxic Gas. So ignore all Pokemon powers other than Toxic Gas, and this power stops working while Muk is asleep, confused, or paralyzed. And for 3 grass, Sludge, flip a coin of heads, defend a Pokemon out poison for 30 damage, which is, we can use that attack, but it's mostly for the Toxic Gas, a Pokemon Power to slow down other decks that rely on Pokemon powers. So first thing that comes to mind is, for instance, say Typhlosion, and Blaine's Arcanine requires Typhlosion's Poke Power to power up your Blaine's Arcanine by accelerating fire energy from your discard pile, and this would stop that. Obviously there's other effects as well. It can help shut down Downpour from Feraligatr as well, amongst other things. So it's a really useful card, really annoying card for your opponent to see as well. And again, like that, if you aren't firing on all cylinders, then that Muk can kind of slow your opponent down to get your Dark Muks online as well. 2 copies of Cleffa, even less than in our last deck profile for Dark Wheezing. Again, you really want to be seeing Grimers into Muk straight away, so you're not really wanting to have Cleffas there. Basically anything that isn't a Dark Muk, it means that the deck isn't really up to where it needs to be for it to be functioning fully in the game. So 2 copies of Cleffa though, still good for that eek, shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 7. 1 copy of Murkrow, love the art in this. This is a really cool card. For a dark, and we do run dark energy in the deck, the defending Pokemon can't retreat as long as Murkrow remains your active Pokemon. So you can see there, get out your Dark Muk, poison them, and then you can even switch into Murkrow and lock them there and let the poison chip away at them. There's also Feint Attack for a dark and a colorless. Choose one of your opponent's Pokemon. This attack does 20 damage to that Pokemon. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, Pokemon powers, or any other effects on the defending Pokemon. So again, a bit of snipe, which is also really, really nice as well, especially if you've been chipping away on something and your opponent gets the switch and brings it back to the bench thinking that they're safe now. Murkrow can go in and finish it off. Also, I suppose a good time for Mean Luck to come in is if, say, your Dark Muk has poisoned something, then it gets knocked out. You can bring in Murkrow, lock whatever it is into the active, and let the poison chip away at it. So that's 1 copy of Murkrow. So the channel's signature card is back, the Boss's Way. I think people are beginning to see why I named the channel the Boss's Way, because I just love Rocket On so much, and a lot of the decks I've built do use the Boss's Way, and I just love the idea of, I suppose, having Giovanni type cards or dark cards or rocket cards and things like that. So search your deck for an evolution Pokemon with Darkness name and show it to your opponent. We have Imposter Oak's Revenge, pretty cool card. Gengar and Koffing here, looking cool. Discard a card from your hand, and then in order to play this card, your opponent shuffles his or her hand into his or her deck and draws 4. So basically, I suppose it's the old school Judge, but only brings your opponent down to 4. We have Good Manners again. So in order to play this card, you can't have any basic Pokemon in your hand. Show your opponent your hand, and you can pick a Pokemon from your deck. A basic Pokemon card specifically from your deck, and show your opponent and add it to your hand. So it's good kind of tutoring out your Grimers and your Cleffas and your 1 copy of Murkrow in particular, since that can be hard to find when it's only 1 copy. 4 copies of shuffle your hand, draw 7. Then your turn, your turn doesn't end, but you can't play any more trainers for the turn. Double Gust, again, 4 copies of Double Gust. If you have any bench Pokemon, your opponent chooses one of them and switches it with your active Pokemon. Then if your opponent has any bench Pokemon, choose one of them and switch it with his or her active. Really, really good card for bringing things up off the bench. We play our 4 copies of Erica. You may drop 3 cards, then your opponent may drop 3 cards. So you might think, okay, well, that's great and all, I'm drawing 3 cards, but I'm giving my opponent 3 cards as well, which isn't great. But you see, Erica combos really well with Imposter Oak's Revenge, because you can let them build up a big hand if you're going Erica into Erica into Erica, and you're building up your big hand, searching out your pieces. But you're giving them the same advantage. But then if you drop your Professor or your Imposter Oak's Revenge on them, then that brings their huge hand back down to 4, which kind of mitigates that. And also we have our 4 copies of the Rocket Sneak Attack, which looks at your opponent's hand, and if they have any trainer cards there, you can choose one of them and shuffle that into his or her deck, which again kind of more hand disruption there as well, and kind of gives you more of a benefit from Erica and give them less XP all. So again, during your opponent's turn, if your active Pokemon will be knocked out by opponent's attack, you can take 1 basic energy card attached to your active Pokemon and attach it to the Pokemon with XP share or XP all attached to it. Okay, so again, when Dark Muk gets knocked out, you have one of these sitting on your next Grimer or Dark Muk on the bench, so that one of the grass energies from that knocked out Dark Muk goes on to your next one, and then you can just attach 1 to attack, because it does take 2 energy to attack, and then you can just kind of chain your attacks there, and there's no gap between your attacks because of energy attachment. 2 copies of the Rocket's Hideout just to give your Rocket Pokemon, Dark Pokemon, 20 more hit points, because again that's a feature of Dark Pokemon, they have less hit points than usual. And 1 copy of the Nightly Garbage Run just to bring up the 3 basic Pokemon or evolutions and or basic energy back from your discard pile into your deck, just to help I suppose bring back important pieces at different parts of the game. So our energy count, we run quite a high energy count as well. You can see there that our deck is pretty much all trainer cards too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 11 grass energy, and again, because you know Dark Muk does have 2 grass as a requirement, but we also play 4 copies of our dark energy here, just to give Dark Muk that extra bit of kind of damage output, plus 10 on the Dark Pokemon, and obviously it works for Murkrow's attack as well, just to give you a little bit more kind of damage output, because 20 isn't amazing. Poison obviously helps, but then if you have a Dark Energy or 2 attached to it, then you know, it can really ramp up the damage a bit more as well. So there, that is our last part of the deck for Dark Energy. Okay guys, hope you liked the video. That was Dark Muk, really fun deck. It's just a deck that wants to get out, be aggressive as soon as possible, trap your opponent's active Pokemon and kind of just run them off the board. If you can even get a Muk down on the bench as well and a Dark Muk in the active, then you're really in a good spot, because you're shutting down their Poke Powers and you're trapping them in the active. However, having just said that, you need to be careful of Toxic Gas, because obviously it will shut down your Sticky Goo ability, so that's something you just want to be careful of. So again, you have to kind of decide, you know, is it harming my opponent more so than it's harming myself in a match? So there's a bit of, I suppose, strategy there thinking, but it's great to have the option of Muk as well, and it can swing for 30 for 3 energy, so it's not totally awful either. Okay guys, that has been our deck profile for Dark Muk, and this has been The Boss's Way, and we'll see you next time.